A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. Today's showing is exciting as we have in our studio one of the best marketers and India's ace creative agency. No points for guessing as the tags give it away. It's Nitin Saini, Vice President of Marketing of Mondelez, India, and Sukesh Nayak, Chief Creative Officer, Ogily, India. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me right here in the studio today, and many congratulations on several things actually, but we'll start off with winning Client of the Year at the Effies and winning Agency of the Year at the Effies as well, Ogilvy. But I believe Mondelez in particular, hat trick, right? And this would be, you've kind of taken on this role in 2022?
That's correct.
2022. So ever since you've taken it on, you've had a hat trick.
Firstly, thanks for having us, Sonali, and again, thank you, for your kind words. All the credit goes to the wonderful Mondelez India marketing team.
Yes, of course. There's no doubt about that. But I just wanted to know that since day one of your current position, you've bagged, 3 Effies right now.
I think we're thrilled.
The pressure's on then for the next year. But many congratulations to also this collaboration, which is, going on for now decades. And I've met many managements because Mondelez keeps changing after a few years. Their head of marketing, their CEO. And I think that partnership still remains intact and is still a titanic creative duo. So kudos to both Ogilvy and Mondelez for kind of keeping that spirit. But let's talk about how that really happens.
Few things come to my mind. I think firstly, both Ogilvy and Mondelez, when we look at our work, we look at it as inheriting a strong legacy. We don't look at the past work and say, oh, this needs to change. That didn't happen well, this proposition is not right. I think we really look at what's working, and then we want to build on it. So inheriting a strong legacy is our mindset. And the second is definitely the partnership. I think there's really, really strong partnership between us and Ogilvy. And I think I have said this before, that if you go to a room which has Mondelez people and Ogilvy people, you'll not know who is who until they, introduce themselves. So really, really strong partnership. And I would say, I think thirdly, I'll say is also we are very aligned on what we are going for, what we are gunning for. And it is not just fame. It's not just whether people will talk about the campaign or not. It's also about effectiveness, whether the work we are producing is working in the market or not. I think we are very, very aligned on that as well. So these are a few things that come to my mind on why this partnership has been so successful.
Nitin, you've been in Mondelez for a while now. You've also worked
all my life, 22 years.
You're a lifer.
Yeah.
And you've also worked in other markets, right? Just want to ask you, from an India perspective, from a consumer, point of view, since it's such an established brand in India, right? And maybe not Mondelez, but Cadbury's is like such an established brand. People don't even know that it's not an Indian brand, right? How much of the needle does it really move? Your marketing campaigns are not average, they're not mediocre, they really hit chords. So all kudos to you, but how much does that really kind of impact, in the marketplace?
Oh, it has a huge impact.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you see, you rightly said Cadbury is synonymous with the chocolate category in India. We have a very strong share position. So the key task for us is to grow the category. And I think that is something that will happen if we build relevance for the category. So if you look at all our campaigns, many of our campaigns have helped build relevance for the category, for the brand. Kuch Meeta Ho Jaye, is our long-standing proposition on Cadbury Dairy Milk, has built relevance for the chocolate category in India. Silk, which is a brand we just introduced 15 years back, is now the second biggest chocolate brand in the country. And there again, it is about building proposition of Silk as the gold standard of chocolate experience in the country. And now we have positioned it on romance and we activate it on several occasions like Valentine's Day. So all the marketing work and all the brand work that has happened in the category has played a key role in driving relevance for the category and growing it.
Just when you talk about growing the category, I know that India, if you compare it to other countries, our consumption is quite low. Just to give a sense to my audience in terms of where we stand globally in terms of chocolate consumption, could you give me a sense?
Yeah, so our per capita consumption is roughly around 200 grams in India. While if you look at some of the Western markets,
200 grams a day.
200 grams annually, per capita consumption, 200 grams annually. While if you look at some of the Western markets, it's almost 10 kilos. So we have a kind of a long way to go in terms of driving the category and growing the category, and that is really the job that we see for ourselves.
200 grams leaves a lot of headroom to play, but just to go back to, let's say, your 2-star brands, which we all saw recently play very different avatars. I'm talking about the Valentine's Day campaign that just went by. So you had 5-star, which was, counterculture. And then you had, Silk, which was love and mushy and romance, right? And it's interesting that they both come from the house of Mondelez. So you have 2 brands, advocating different theories on Valentine's Day. I believe you do that because of the brand personality and the cohorts that these brands kind of cater to. Can you explain to me how you decide what cohort is interested in what chocolate? Because chocolate is more universal. Does it really have an age group which likes a particular chocolate?
No, I think, as you said, chocolate is universal when it comes to liking. I think as far as these campaigns are concerned around Valentine's Day, they are coming from their own brand positioning that each of those brands have. Silk is a brand that's positioned on romance. So there's no better occasion than Valentine's Day to activate the brand. And we did that this year, and everything we did around the brand was focused around the proposition of say it with Silk this Valentine's Day. And then 5-star, as you rightly said, is counterculture and very different take. But then again, coming from the proposition of do nothing. So I think the way we look at it is that each of the brands, you can kind of bucket them into a particular eat type. And then each of those brands have their own brand proposition that, we kind of come to that, arrive at that after a lot of consumer work.
Right. So, Kesh, talk to me about this 5-star campaign, because that's really traveled, and it's gone into, uncles are talking about it, children are talking about it, teenagers are talking about it. So it's really became a conversation point. Tell me about how that idea germinated and what went into that whole creation.
So I think very well defined brand positioning really helps for us to continuously build on the creative platform that we have for the brand. So the amazing part is consistency of the counterculture idea. It has to work. And that is what we take actually very seriously. When we want to talk to the youth and we want to talk to those youth, for example, over here, who find that whole this love and mush is too much for them, and they don't want to be part of this too much of mush and this expression of a day. It's too much pressure to do something with somebody when I don't want to do anything. I just want to be me and chill. And in this idea, it was so insightful that how do you talk to those who fundamentally find this over mush too much and too much to do, and they don't want to do anything about it? We say, get uncles in. The moment uncles get into it, because the history shows that anything uncles have got into, that thing has just, youth has just moved out from it, because they're saying, not happening, social media.
But you were pitching the idea to uncles at Mondelez.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm an uncle now, and I'm sure the team who's worked on it, some of them are uncles. I think somewhere it connected with not just the young people, but actually also connected with a lot of people who probably fall in the category.
But was there any incident when you were pitching this particular 5-star campaign that was funny or a standout that you'd like to kind of narrate?
No, I think it got sold. I think it got sold in like a minute or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Yeah, literally. I think another campaign that went like this only, which was a very interesting brief, saying that what is that one occasion that can be owned by Cadbury again, which is a every single day gifting occasion, and came birthday. Birthdays every day. There are millions of people celebrate birthday in a country like ours. And the idea on that, my birthday song. It was a one-line pitch. There are millions of people in this country, and there's only one birthday song. And a country that speaks in multiple languages, why can't there be a song for each one of them? It was done. I think we figured how later.
So you're saying concept first, platform later.
We 100% believe, I think you don't have original concept, you can't survive. I feel most of the concepts have just gone through literally in 2 minutes and 3 minutes of concept. Then we spend days and months, I think, trying to figure how to do them.
Sure. Did you guys do any activations on Valentine's Day, getting these uncles out and kind of getting taking that to the next? So tell me how you did that. Go in detail so I can
So uncles had to be seen in public domain for you to not like it. So all the must, spots had to be rated. So there were, of course, targeted people that were sent out, and those were the things we did. So every idea that we have done, it's not just a statement and left at in a simpler word, video that just plays on digital medium, and that's the idea. No, and that's where the time takes, by the way. The effort and the madness is in making sure that level of end-to-end is perfect.
And I think that's the other learning. what Sukesh just talked about, that these activations and these engagements are very important, because then it is not just one-sided communication of your proposition, but you are making people live it.
Just to do a little bit of a segue, I just want to understand, let's say over the last 5 to 7 years, how has consumption in the chocolates category kind of changed, or has it? I don't know how it's changed. What are the kind of trends you're seeing when people are looking to consume chocolate?
Yeah, sure. So I think overall it's been a good run. If I look at the last 6-7 years, the category has done quite well. I think uh, all the segments have done well, but one of the things that maybe I'll point out is premiumization.
Sure.
Because we have seen really good growth coming in on brands like Silk and Boneville, and we have introduced new variety under Silk, which have also done quite well. Just last year, we introduced a new platform under Silk called Silk Desserts. So this has got brownie and plum cake, two variants. And I think both of them are doing well. So overall, premiumization is one of the trends that we have seen kind of play out well. So we've got a good portfolio to tap into different needs and different occasions and different audiences.
You know, this entire talk about softening of the, of the consumption economy, players who are dabbling in like soaps are struggling to sell soaps, and there is a problem with actual consumption because people have stopped spending. And because chocolates is more discretionary, I would have assumed that there would have been a hit there as well, because if you're not going to spend money, then I'll still buy my dal. But will I still buy chocolates?
Look, I mean, no category is fully immune.
Yeah,
Finally,
sure.
From the cyclical macroeconomic headwinds, which is why I was giving you kind of a more longer term view.
Right.
So if you look at the over last 7-8 years, I would say one of the fastest growing snacking categories done quite well. And then of course there is always some impact that happens on account of macroeconomic challenges, but we are very kind of optimistic about the future of this category. And I just talked about per capita consumption. We've got a really strong portfolio of brands, brands that people really love. Also build strong emotional connect with our consumers, and that helps build brand love, that helps build the buying behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is what we have seen now for many years.
I asked you this question because there was a research that was recently done by Mondelez where they talked about how, because of this entire pressure, and I'm not sure if this is actually true for India because we are barely having 200 grams a year. So this whole pressure to remain healthy, go off sugar, sugar is the enemy, all of that. Apparently there was a study done by you guys which said that Indians believe in mindful snacking, which means I'll do a smaller portion, but I enjoy that snack because it gives me pleasure, and hence I won't eat a whole bar by myself, but I will have a few blocks. Is that something you're seeing? And is this whole so-called health trend, and I'm saying it's so-called because there's so many facts going around and everybody and anybody is dispensing it. Nobody knows, what is the authenticity of it. I'm saying, is that something that's hit India at all, or we're not in that curve?
I'll say a couple of things. Firstly, if you look at snacking, snacking in India addresses a variety of needs. So it could be functional, like hunger, satiation, or social or emotional, so variety of needs. Mindful indulgence is one of those things as well that, some consumers do look at how can they mindfully indulge. And I think you absolutely said the right thing. I think portion control is definitely one of the things that some consumers are looking at. And for us, therefore, it becomes very important that when we look at our portfolio, we have a wide array of options.
Sure.
And that is exactly what we have. So we have got an offering for somebody who is looking for self-consumption, individual consumption, and somebody is looking for a shared consumption. So you've got to look at things in that.
Okay, so I think this anyway is not that relevant to India, given the fact that, our per capita consumption is so low. But just looking at, what's the next player from Mondelez in the chocolates category, you've done very well with Silk, 15 years old, and it's your number 2 portfolio, and it's your premium play. What's next? I know you are attempting super expensive chocolates for India when you're talking about Studio.
That's correct.
Right? Is that an attempt now to build the premium portfolio to a significant chunk of the business?
I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. So that's exactly what we want to do with Studio, which is to further fortify our premium play. And Studio is, a box of premium praline chocolate, absolutely fantastic. and we are positioning it as an all year round gift. And we recently introduced it. I think the early signs are good.
As a marketer today, how do you kind of look at efficacy of platforms, right? Because there is the traditional TV, and then you have a myriad of other platforms, be social platforms that you can kind of put your work in. How are you evaluating the efficacy of digital platforms? In TV, we have our rating system, but unfortunately for digital, despite several conversations globally, we've not found a unified metric system. So how do you do, is it through like, oh, this has been shared on WhatsApp and it's traveling? Because there's no real measurement, so to speak.
No, so we look at several things over there. I think first of all, we work very closely with Wavemaker on that, because those are our media partners. Right. And then we look at, firstly in terms of what we put out there, what's been the delivery, so in terms of impressions and so on. But then we also have our own internal, very robust market mix modeling, which tells us the return of investment, ROI, on the investments we are making on each of those different platforms. And that is clearly linked to, how much did we invest in that platform and what's been the return. So we have a kind of different ways of looking at that.
But today, if I had to ask you, and putting traditional aside, right, in the new mix, what would be your favorite child?
No, so I think each of those platforms have a role to play.
Oh,
so
come on, you're talking like a father says, I love all my children.
Not really, I think it is true, including TV, I must say, because I think the reach that TV provides is, absolutely critical for us, for our brands.
Absolutely.
Our kind of ubiquitous brand and their appeal and so on. And then there is also now e-commerce, with quick commerce coming in. So we also want to make sure, it's a big play, we want to make sure that we are meaningfully present on quick com, and not just like promotions over there, but how can we even bring some of our activations there?
Sure.
So whether we had a great success on activating Silk in Valentine's Day, both last year and this year, on some of those quick commerce platforms. But that is one of the things, Sonali, that the marketer of today has to be very alive to, on what are the different platforms and how you're making sure that you are fit to each of those platforms.
I think the answer is also linked to the creative agencies. There's so many opportunities and avenues, and if you're not really pushing, the work on each of those, you won't be able to solve for the new marketing dynamics, for example, or the mix that is needed. You can't just do one and say, I'm done with it, because that will not be enough. Especially in a country like India, television is still very, very...
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, and it does
That's why I said keep it aside, because that is already proven efficacy.
And no, I think even the print, for example, let me speak on that. I feel the print has become, there's so many things you can do with it now, which you couldn't do earlier. Like static medium can become a moving medium. That's the opportunity of technology today.
And even outdoor.
Yeah.
I mean, we have seen outdoor...
tell so much more.
Play a very important role whenever we are introducing something new.
You've also kind of increased your rural presence in the last 5 years quite significantly. It's a focused approach, and it's really happened. Is the creative play for rural India different than it is for urban India?
I don't think so. I think what we have seen is that some of our best creative work has appealed to both urban and rural audiences. So hence, I think rural is not so much about putting a different creative there. It's more about our choice of media platforms, making sure our stories are going to rural as well.
Yeah.
And a lot has to be on account of distribution expansion, making sure that we are present in the store.
So then, Nitin, would you say, if you look at the body of work Mondelez has done over the last 5 years, right, and you juxtapose the work, let's say it's done a decade ago, right, which has also been fantastic work, would you say that the creativity and actually making of an ad has actually not changed?
And thankfully, good that it has been that way. And
you do agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think so. I was a category manager on Cadbury Dairy Milk like 15 years back when we did the Shubharam campaign. And I think the process very much still remained the same. And that is where the partnership has come in, to make sure we are doing something that's rooted in a strong insight. We create work that resonates with consumers and be part of the culture. I think those things have remained the same. I think what's gotten added is now technology, being there out there, which we have to use to our advantage. And hence we always say that, the idea and the insight is the most important thing, which has remained the same. But there are things that we can do with AI, for example, today, and bring those ideas to life, which was not there so many years back. I think that's an added dimension, that of course, and the media fragmentation. So you have to make sure that you're fit for each platform. So some of that has changed, but I think the heart of it has remained the same.
Amazing part is I'll talk about multiple teams we work with at Mondelez and at Ogily also. Everyone is willing to experiment. I think that's the heart of the whole story.
You've been a lifer at Mondelez, and while you agree that the fundamentals of creativity and the fundamentals of marketing are pretty much the same, we have some new added tools. But I would have to say that to be a marketer in 2025 is a much tougher job than, let's say, it was in 2010 or 2015, right? What would you say are your biggest hurdles being, head of marketing in Mondelez?
I think I won't call it hurdles, but things that are really important that for any marketer, I think first of all will have to be being close to the consumer. I think you really need to know your consumer well. What are her motivations? What are her drivers? Because I think that's at the heart of everything else that happens.
But have those changed?
That hasn't changed. I think, but you have to remind every time, because I think because there are so many distractions now, right? Like we talked about technology and platforms and so on. So you have to make sure that that reminder goes every now and then. I think I strongly advocate my team to also spend a lot of time with our creative and media partners. There's a lot to learn from them. And I think that partnership only helps in getting to great creative ideas. And I think Sukesh will agree. I think it's a process of bouncing off a few things, and it's not as if, it's Sukesh's job only to come with some great creative idea. It's a process of conversation. Yeah. And of course, they have the final say.
That's lovely that you just said they had the final say. It's such a rare thing to be seen and heard, and I've got it on camera. That's amazing.
No, absolutely.
Because it's usually, you have the last say. You're paying for it.
No, I can say that again. I think the creative idea is definitely, what Ogilvy brings to the table.
Talk of instances, where this, at least in my journey with Mondelez, has been quite extraordinary. For example, very small budget, and there was a very practical discussion on it across the table, and said, no, this one requires a little more from our end to, because there's a logic behind it. Let's do it together and let's find a way. So that kind of stuff. I remember there have been times when some concepts have not done too well in testing, and we have said, okay, we believe in it, so let's rework and see what we can do. And because there is a strong backing and understanding behind it, and those concepts have gone on to do fantastically when they produce as a creative output. So I feel it's all honest, and honesty doesn't mean having no arguments. Please understand that. So there's a lot of arguments, push and pull happens on both ends, but at the end of the day, they've always been very, I would say, supportive.
I'm very curious, Nitin, to understand how different platforms on like you have in retail are doing. So for instance, is it still the biggest contribution as a platform? Are they still kiranas, or have they been overturned?
No, for us, the kiranas are still the big. I think the e-commerce platforms are fast growing, particularly fueled by quick commerce. So that's certainly kind of growing the fastest. But just in terms of the sheer business scale, it's still the kiranas.
And what about quick commerce? I mean, has that been a significant impetus, you see? Because that's something that you would want in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
And that's what I was referring to. I think e-commerce fueled by quick commerce is we are seeing, that.
No, but if I remove e-commerce, like if I separate them, like quick commerce and e-commerce, would you say that quick commerce would come second in the pecking order?
So, I would just say that quick commerce is growing very fast. And I think, again, because of what you just said, right? Like you want things quickly at your doorstep. So, we are seeing that happen too. You see really kind of strong expansion over there.
Everybody's talking about D2C, right? Does it make sense for a company like yours to actually go D2C?
It does. So, we do have a play in D2C with Cadbury Joy deliveries, but that is largely personalized gifting.
But does it really work? Like, how well is D2C doing for a brand like yours, right? I don't think it makes sense, but I'm not sure. I don't know if there's actually enough traction for companies with scales like yours and portfolios like yours to actually go direct to consumer.
So Sonali, in terms of scale, it is still small. But we have seen it grow very well in 2024. So I think we're kind of keeping a close eye on it, because again, it goes into the insight of people want personalized gifting.
Do people really want personalized stuff?
Yes, absolutely. That's a big trend.
It's a big trend.
And gifting, and 100%. There is an inherent demand just for a little bit of uniqueness.
Well, on that note, I think kudos to both of you. And it really looks like this is a love affair that is not ending anytime soon. In fact, it's a long-standing marriage. But looking forward to more that is coming from the Mondelez table created by Ogily. Last words from both of you. If you had to give a piece of advice to the marketing community, what would it be?
I think believe in your partner and be open to try it and give them a seat on a table to have a frank and honest discussion, because I think the more we have of that, the better the work will be. I've always seen work get better when you have conversations rather than a quick fix solution for something. And that's my personal opinion, and my request to all as the industry is whoever it could be, I mean, but spend some time with them and build it, because the more you talk, the better the work gets.
Sounds like relationship advice, Sukesh.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that for sure. And I would also add that be fearless, because true creativity comes from there.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Truly a pleasure.
Thank you so much
for having us.
Very nice.
Thank you.